E. Jean Carroll's defamation trial against Donald Trump has ended, and the verdict is in to the tune of $83.3 million. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Caroli and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And I think I squealed a little when that verdict came in,
I don't know if I squealed. I definitely giggled.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
giggles.
did definitely giggle. Absolutely. No question. It's like, yes, take all this man's money. Take it all.
Seriously. Like,
Take it all and
fleece
then
him
put him
for
in jail where he'll be
every
grateful he gets meals.
every
You know?
every disgusting dime he's worth.
Yeah.
Ugh,
How much
or
do you
that
want
he
to bet that I'm gonna split my attention a little bit here because
yeah.
I'm betting that within the hour, while we are here talking to each other, he will defame her again.
Oh, of course he
Guaranteed.
will.
Can't
Guaranteed.
help himself. He's going to
No,
do it.
he's
No, he
going to do it. I
cannot
mean,
help
he's already, issued his little statement on Truth Social about how this is not America, which is what he was yelling when he was in the courtroom. I mean, he behaved like a toddler with a
yeah.
tantrum this morning, walking out
Right?
during closing arguments.
Yeah, he
I'm
stomped
sure
out.
that helped him a lot with that jury.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure.
Drama king much? I mean,
What a fucking child.
right?
but, in the real world, people are really happy. I mean, George Conway is very happy that Molly Jong-Fast introduced them. Molly Jong-Fast is also happy she introduced them. Um,
Okay. Yes. I was
Wait.
just gonna
She's happy that she introduced who? That
oh, E. Jean Carroll wasn't going to sue. It was George Conway's idea. And he put her in touch with Robbie Kaplan.
oh. I'm like, who did she introduce who to? I'm like, who's
George
okay, yeah,
Conway tweets, I'm overcome with emotion. And what are some of the others? Greg Chernak, CEO of Four Seasons Total Landscaping, says my decision to invest in Heinz is going to make me quite wealthy.
God, that guy is so funny. Oh dear Lord, that
Oh.
man is funny.
And Judge Kaplan, this is the sad part, right? The jurors had
Yeah,
to stay anonymous, not only
yeah,
to them, themselves, but also with the others. So,
yeah.
like, they were completely nameless. And Judge Kaplan, at the end of the trial, said to the jurors, my advice to you is that you never disclose that you were on this jury.
Yeah. And he's right.
He's absolutely right, but it's so sad.
Absolutely
I
right.
mean, that Trump is such a thug that would have to be advice that was given.
This
No,
is
Trump
the
and his
ongoing.
followers are such thugs. It's you can't. It's not just Trump. You have to portion out responsibility as well to his followers and the people who are willing to make threats and people who are willing to swat
But
and
there were
do
fewer of those before Trump seemed to give them a permission structure.
right
That's
exactly.
true.
But I can't. I don't want to only I feel really strongly that these people need to be held. They're like you don't. This is the whole if the tree falls in the forest thing. Like if he didn't have people to do that bit, if he had people who would take him for the grifting toddler that he is, not willing to do his bidding, then they wouldn't be in this position.
But
The jurors wouldn't have to fear for their lives. But the fact is, there are people who are willing to do
there are
that,
people,
and they
and they have
suck.
been
And
radicalized.
shame on them.
They've been
Shame on them.
radicalized. They, you know, we
Sorry.
used to have, there used to be, guardrails in our
Yeah.
society where people would not just crazily follow their id wherever
Yeah.
it takes them, you know.
Yeah.
And
Seriously.
what Trump unleashed in this country with the help of the right-wing media infrastructure
Yep.
and, the social media infrastructure is it's like the Civil War. And you've got the governor of Texas and other red state governors posturing
Oh, they want a
right
hot
now.
civil war.
Yeah,
They absolutely want a
they
hot civil
want
war.
a
They
hot civil war. And, it's going to come to a standstill. There's going to be a moment where President Biden, because this week the Supreme Court said, you know what? The federal government does have the right to cut the razor wire that the Texas
Well, and
agents have
why do
put
they
up
have
on the
the right? Because immigration is solely the
a federal.
responsibility of the executive.
Right,
It's
right,
not.
right. So what is going to have to happen, since he's called out the National Guard, is that our President Biden's going to have to take a page out of what President Eisenhower had to do
Mhm. Absolutely.
when desegregation was ordered.
Yeah.
Right.
He's going to have to nationalize the Texas National Guard. And I guess even the Florida one, because I guess that he's got Florida National Guard down there too.
Well, and Oklahoma wants to, so the
Yeah.
governor of Oklahoma wants to send the National Guard down too. And it's like, go ahead, you guys, send your National Guard down. And then Biden will
And then,
nationalize the
right.
National Guard, and they will be answerable
They
to
will do his
him
bidding. They will
and do
be
his bidding, and they will cut the fucking wire and screw all of you people
right.
who
It'll
want
take
to
less time.
drown
Thanks for
babies in the
helping.
Rio Grande.
Yeah.
I
It'll
mean,
take less
And
time.
they
Thank you for
will do
helping
it.
and whatever, right? It's like it's their. What do they think? That I mean, I know what they think, but
honestly, the Supreme Court decision on this shouldn't have been 5-4. It should have been unanimous.
Well, of course it should have been, but look at
now
who the four were. They are
Yeah.
bogus justices.
Yeah.
They are bought and paid for, and we need to expand the court. We can't do that until we get through this election. We have to re-elect Joe Biden. We
Mhm.
have to retake the House with a larger margin,
Mhm.
and we have to get larger margins in the Senate.
Yep.
And it's a big ask.
It is
It
a big
can be done, but it needs to be explained to people who are not following politics the way we do, who are not following the news the way we do, what the stakes are and why this has to be.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you something. If Biden has to nationalize the National Guard down there in order to stop them from murdering babies in the Rio Grande, people are going to be
Pro-life,
paying
my ass.
attention to that. Yeah, exactly. Pro-life, my ass. There's nothing pro-life about him. I
No.
mean, that is the sickest thing I have ever seen anybody do. Put that razor wire in there, and then those two kids just carried away by the current, and
I can't.
they're dead. I know. It's just awful. It's horrible. They're not pro-life. And to make this even worse, right? We have a bipartisan bill on the table for immigration. It is on the table. It is bipartisan. It is Republicans
It's
and
not
Democrats.
not
And
just bipartisan. It's a lot of things that Democrats hate, and the Democrats want to get this done so badly that they said, okay, there are so many concessions to what the Republicans want. They are never going to get a bill that is this favorable to what they want again, and they have said so. They recognize it, and it's dead on arrival.
because why? Because Trump said
Donald
he wants
Trump.
to use it as a wedge in the
He
election.
wants
Mhm.
to use it to win his presidency.
So
And
that they
they're
can
and
continue.
everybody's willing to do it. All the Republicans are willing to
Well,
sacrifice
because all
getting
of them
policy that they want so that Trump can have a chance in hell of beating him, because they're terrified of Trump because of his fucking thugs who follow him around and do what he says, because they remember the noose that was hanging in front of the Capitol on January 6th. Again, I'm going to place equal responsibility on the people who follow him and do his bidding, because there's a lot more of them than there
That's fair
are
to place responsibility on him,
of
but
Trump.
he's the one that lights him up. He's the one that lights him up. And
He
that's why
definitely gasses them up. He does. But I mean, like, what the fuck that people, are so uneducated, so racist, so just devoted to their own grievance, that they need to, that they need this kind of president representing the country.
well,
Like,
I mean, they get
it's a
stroked
it's a
every day on
national
Fox News.
psychosis.
It is, but I mean, they get stroked every day on Fox News and on Newsmax and on OANN, where everything is about how persecuted they are, how everything is bad for them, and it's just fucking frustrating. I don't know. I can't even begin to say. It's like
So
and
appalling.
when it gets to this, and when it gets to the other, and they love to other, so we have trans people being othered, we have immigrants being othered, and the thing that's like frustrating about this is these people want to come here, they want to work, and they want to pay taxes, and they want a little piece of the American dream too, and they're willing to do that. But because Republicans are doing what they're doing right now, states are passing laws that kids work 8-hour days on school days,
Child
and
labor.
yeah, and work on commercial farms. They're allowing kids in Iowa to drop out of school at 14 and work on commercial farms. So, and I mean, it's just mind blowing to me that we have a labor shortage and we have a labor market, right? We have one right there at the border. These people want to come over, they want to work, they want to build their own lives over here. And instead,
The way our ancestors did.
exactly.
The
But
same way our ancestors did.
right,
But they hate brown people so much.
right.
And
That
they hate the thought of Joe Biden getting a win so much.
Well, he's had a lot of wins.
I have big
Even
news
suicide.
for them. He's going to get this win sooner or later, and it's going to be a bigger win, in my opinion, than what.
Right,
If
because right now,
I mean, Democrats did not want what was in this bill, but they were willing to make the sacrifice to get the Ukraine aid that they
Yes.
wanted. And now Mitch McConnell's even admitting, oh, okay, well, we can't, it used to be that, we could put these two together and do something, but now we can't because this
The
guy over here.
politics of this have changed.
Yes,
is that
exactly.
what he said?
Yes.
Yes. And really, he just should have said, I had my head up Trump's ass, and this is what he wants. So this is what we're going to do. I mean, they're all
told me.
The only one, honestly, that I've seen that has any character at all is Mitt Romney, who came out and said, you know what, this is stupid. This is the best bill we're going to get. We should do it. We should get it done and, get the aid to Ukraine. And he's the only one. And he can say it because he's retiring at the end of his term anyway.
Didn't Tom Tillis also say something about that?
What?
Didn't Tom Tillis also speak out in favor of the aid for Ukraine? Or
he might have. No, I think he spoke out in favor of the aid for Ukraine, but I don't think he talked much about the immigration piece of the bill.
I think he was critical of Trump using it as
a wedge.
As a wedge.
Well, that won't last.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll be like everybody else. He'll suck it up.
Yeah. Like Tim Scott saying, I love you.
Okay. Was anybody just disgusted by that New Hampshire speech where
oh
my gosh.
I didn't see it, and I think
I don't know what Tim Scott thinks is gonna happen here. I mean, I know he got himself a fiance.
He thinks he's going to be vice president.
Well, South Carolina primary hasn't happened yet. My guess is after the South Carolina primary happens, he gets dropped, and Trump moves on to the next.
Yeah, someone on MSNBC was speculating that, because of the E. Jean Carroll verdict, he needs to shore himself up with women. So How do you guys feel about vice presidential candidate Carrie Lake?
I think she's gonna stay running for Senate in Arizona. I think the vice presidential candidate Kristi Noem is a
Christy
possibility.
Noem.
She's got the right look.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. All that.
Well, it's not going to be Elise Stefanik,
Oh no.
no matter how hard she tries.
I think
No.
Elise Stefanik wants to be Speaker of the House.
Yeah, it could be.
So, why anybody, by the way, would want to be Speaker of the House right now? I can't even.
That house, I don't know.
I mean, they're in danger of actually like losing the majority in the House before the 2024 election at this point. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess so. But
all I can say,
one of my guys just announced he's retiring, so
I saw that.
Super worried, but I mean, it
He's
wasn't.
retiring.
It was a safe Democratic district, though.
He is.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
all I can say is that watching the mess that's in the House, former Speaker Nikki Haley is sitting there just laughing away, you know.
Nikki Haley.
Former governor, you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean former Speaker Nikki Haley has been Trump's little,
according to Trump,
little 5-minute diatribe over the weekend.
His brain fart. Yeah. Okay.
Where he was talking about Nancy Pelosi, but said Nikki Haley, because, you know, all women are an annoyance to him. So he gets them all confused.
And then, of course, he said he did it on purpose.
Yeah, right.
Sure,
you know,
of course, he's full of
I
shit.
sure do wish the media would cover his mental demise, you know, rapidly escalating dementia with half.
The way they did Hillary Clinton's cough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or, you know, talking about Joe Biden's age, you know?
Don't get me started. I mean, Joe Biden consistently demonstrates his lucidity and his, you know, ability to, you know, be physically fit and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know, and
all kinds of fitness.
Right, exactly.
And his successes have been amazing in this climate.
Listen, if he had gotten this immigration bill done, that would have been a huge thing. There's no question about it. Even though Democrats hated it, it would have been huge. You know, because it would have basically taken the issue off the table for Trump.
And that's why Trump does not want them to do that.
Right.
Because they can't do it on the economy anymore because, oh, lo and behold, the American public's beginning to recognize that the economy is actually very good.
It is.
Hard to imagine. I mean, after 2.5 years, they're finally figuring it out.
Right?
Yeah, right. At the beginning of 2023, the economists were predicting that we would grow just 0.2%.
And there would be a recession because there had to be one.
Right. Because Jamie Dimon has been predicting a recession for the last 10 years.
Yeah, this is right.
I know. All of us raise the middle finger to Jamie Dimon. Yeah, that's our screenshot. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I want to look prettier when I do it.
Okay, ready?
I'm not going to do that as our screenshot. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on.
It would be so fun. We'd go viral with that. Anyway.
No, we won't.
But Jamie Dimon,
yeah.
He's been aching for a recession. And it's just not
happening. Eventually he'll get one, but he's not getting it yet.
Yeah, so just be patient.
So our GDP growth for the year 2023 was 6.2%.
Not 0.2, 6.2.
And for the quarter that just ended, it was over 3%.
3.3, I think.
The previous quarter was 5.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know.
Unemployment hasn't been this low for this long since the 1960s. You know, inflation is almost down to target rate. The stock market is soaring because they think that there will be cuts in the Fed rate now.
Yeah, the stock market's going up, and of course Fox News is just heartbroken about that. It's like
I know.
watching
Poor
them
thing.
have to choke out the words that the Dow reached another record high, and so did the S&P 500. It's actually kind of funny. You could just
Poor
tell they
thing.
hate it. They, if it was Trump, they'd be like, "Wow, this is a thing." It would be running all day. That's what they would be bragging about. Because it's Biden, it's like,
Now, mind you, while Trump was president, even before the pandemic tanked the economy, he never had quarters like Biden has had.
Yeah.
He
Well,
never had
that's
a year
because
like
in general,
2022.
Democrats are good for the economy. I
That's
mean,
right.
I
they have
don't
been
understand
forever.
how
It,
we have gotten this rap where people think we're bad for the economy. If you look at history, if you look at the bar graphs, if you look, I mean, over for the last 100 years at least, you'll see.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, who
reason
would have thought that enacting tax cuts without paying for them wouldn't work?
Well, it worked great for the billionaires, not so much for the rest of us.
Yeah,
So
it turns out that creating demand among everybody who is not a billionaire is good for the economy.
Yeah.
yep.
And also, relieving some crushing debt
Mm-hmm.
for millions of people helps them spend more.
Yeah.
Helps the economy.
Right. But also,
Um,
I mean, as
like
a rule,
lifting people out of poverty is good for the economy.
exactly. And as a rule, why Democrats are better for the economy is because they spend. Of course, this is what Republicans complain about, right? Is that Democrats spend. But the difference is the economy goes up. And like if you look in Clinton, when Clinton was president, the deficit was pretty much wiped out. They were on the way to
Mhm.
wiping out. And the funny part of that is I will never forget hearing Greenspan testify in front of the Senate committee, I think, and saying that if we paid off the national debt, inflation would go crazy. So it was like, if you pay off the debt, it's bad. And if you don't pay off the debt, it's bad. So what is, you know what I mean? It's like, what
Yeah.
the heck?
So which is badder?
Yeah, exactly. Which is worse. But all of what the Democrats do is they put the money into the economy. I mean, we have the infrastructure bill, we have the chips bill, we have the bill that was passed, the coronavirus one that I can't remember the name of, that gave everybody stimulus checks and stuff like that. I mean, and the tax credit, the child
Yeah.
tax
Yeah.
credit.
And they're trying to reenact the child tax credit too.
Yeah, it won't be as good as the one that was there. It
No,
won't pay monthly, but it
it's better
does
than
boost
nothing.
the amount. It does boost the amount, and it will definitely help
Yeah.
families. So that's good, if it passes. I don't know if it'll pass this house, but
Who
it
knows if
would with
anything
Democrats.
can pass, you
Well,
know?
it's with Democrats, but then he has, this stupid rule about the majority of the majority or something like that, having to vote for it. And yeah, I don't know.
Who has a rule?
It's the Hastert rule.
It's the Hastert rule in the House. So
Do we
it's a
still have
stupid
to have a rule
rule.
named after that guy? I think we
Yeah,
should.
after a child
I'm
molester. Yeah.
okay with them naming it after him.
I mean,
Okay.
it kind of does molest everything, but yeah,
It
anyway,
sounds like a stupid rule.
it
Okay.
is a stupid rule.
It is.
So, and I
It's
mean,
why nothing gets done when you've got Republicans in control.
the House is a shit show. It's just a mess. And these are all the things we have. All these great messages. We just got to go out and get it heard, and get people to sign on to the fact that things are not they're not a disaster. They're good. I will say
Yeah.
this: in California, we have an unemployment problem here that the rest of the nation doesn't have,
Oh,
mostly because most of that money went to red states. Which is fine. That's where they needed it. But we do have an ongoing unemployment problem here and housing problem. Those two things are big. And Gavin
The
Newsom
housing
needs to address
thing
them.
is
Yeah,
intractable. It's
yeah,
really, really
it,
difficult.
it is, because you're fighting with the NIMBYs and you're fighting, with all the the people that need housing, they aren't going to be able to pay a fortune for it. So you got to build some low income housing, and nobody wants low income housing in their neighborhood. It's a
I think they need to do something about the corporations that bought all those homes on investment.
I
It's like the
agree.
only thing I agree with Ro Khanna on. He's got a bill to
Yeah.
outlaw that, and
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Oh, I am too. And make them disgorge the properties they have at a
Yes,
decent, not
yes,
at some crazy inflated amount of money.
right, right.
So are you telling me that corporations have bought up a bunch of properties and are they
All over the
going on?
country since
Are,
2008. When the economy, the economy when it died at the end of the W. Bush term,
yeah,
that was a real estate implosion.
right.
And so all of these corporations bought all of these houses that were in default. And instead of putting them back on the market for sale for like families to live in,
Yeah.
they made them rental properties and they jacked up the price. So now you have fewer places fewer entry level homes that you can purchase. And there's fewer rental units as well, because the older rental units have been torn down with expensive ones built in their place.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's not just the entry level either. I mean, like when
Right.
I was selling my parents' house, I had corporation make me
Yeah.
an offer. They were the first ones to make me an offer, and I intentionally did not accept it because it was a corporation. I
Yeah.
wanted to sell to a person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I was willing to wait for that. Unfortunately, it happened for me, but I mean, that they jumped on it. That like the
Yeah.
minute the listing hit, they made an
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of scary how they. I
Yeah.
know even where I live, when I know that there's units that have come up for sale that have been bought by corporations, and then they come in and they fix them up a little bit and then jack the rents. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't go to another family that could
Right.
use a place to live to raise
Right.
their kids.
So who rents it?
People, I mean, here you get young professional couples, sometimes will rent them, sometimes it's people with families.
But it's expensive.
But
It's
it's
more
really
It's people who
expensive.
can afford it. It's just yeah.
Yeah, it's too much money. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like way too much money.
I mean, as a portion of income, Americans are spending too much on rent, on
So
housing.
what does
And
Rokana's
this is
bill
one
do?
of the reasons for that.
Yeah. What does Rokana's bill do in California?
Well, it's a national bill.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
national bill. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's just been touting it as, to create more affordable housing and to outlaw these corporate these massive corporate owners. I mean, you rent one of these properties and you never meet your landlord.
Right.
It's all done, you know, remotely.
For
Right.
property
And
management people and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
not even a live person for property management. And they don't maintain them well. And you're
no,
paying a
of course
fortune for them.
not. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, we just had up here a situation in Ventura where people lived in this apartment building for years. I mean, some of them for 20 years, 10, 20 years, got booted out. And we're told that they were booted out because the building needed improvement after all those years. And they could come back after they improved it, but their rent was going to be triple what it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing. So of course they now don't have a place to live. And
That
I mean,
just adds to the pressure, in California where we have so many people who have no homes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a bad deal.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So
Well, it doesn't help that your weather's so damn nice.
that's true. It
That's
is nice,
part of
and
the
it's nice
problem.
today. But I'm hearing that there's a possibility, only remote, that California could have a once in 1,000-year weather event where we get rain that drops feet on us instead of inches. And
I do know that someone's predicted an atmospheric river coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we'll have
yeah,
to see about that.
Like
yeah. So, and
It's
it's
El
Southern
Nino
California or
years.
where?
So far, Southern California has not had very much rain for an El Nino year, so we'll have to
Yeah.
see.
I think we'll probably get ours late if we're going to get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess one of the weather models out there has like basically one of these events turning the Central Valley into a lake, basically.
Oh my God.
That happened last year too.
Yeah, I
A
know.
lake that had been gone for over 100 years just reappeared last year with all the rain.
Yep.
Hmm.
So, and that's climate change, and
Yep.
then
Yeah.
you have insurance companies now that won't insure. I just read an article about insurance companies refusing to insure churches, and they've already written in writers that they won't, because of guns. They won't insure for gun events, and by events I mean things happening, or in Texas, like they won't insure for wind and ice damage. So I mean, like all these climate change events, insurance companies are like, well, we're not going to insure against those, so you're just on your own.
Yep. I
It's
mean,
so
what's the point of having the insurance in the first place, except
And I
that the
just got a notice
lender makes you do it?
that our earthquake insurance, which had always insured the inside for 250,000, now they're dropping it to 25,000.
What?
Right? CEA,
That's a
California
state
Earthquake
program.
Authority. Yeah,
Is
I
that
know.
because not enough Californians buy the earthquake insurance?
I don't know. I don't know what
There
it
isn't
is.
enough in the pool, I think. That might be the
Yeah.
reason for that.
But
That's great.
That's
also,
a hell of
the
a
odds
drop.
are that we're going to have an earthquake because it's been 30 years since we
Yeah.
had a major earthquake in California.
Hello.
So it's coming. So for 30 years, we've been buying earthquake insurance, and now the
Yeah, it's so
insurers,
great.
now that the odds go up, they're like, "Oh well, hey, we're not going to insure all of that anymore." I couldn't believe it. I was like, I just got this notice yesterday, and I just couldn't believe it.
From the California Earthquake Authority or
Yeah.
from the carrier?
No, it was from CEA. Yeah, I know, right?
I'm glad I just paid mine.
Yeah.
So we'll probably
So,
get that notice when it comes up again in August.
but insurance companies are balking at just
Yeah.
insuring houses in general, and when they do,
Yeah.
they're charging an arm and a leg to do it, especially in places like Florida and Texas and Alabama and all these
California.
places. And well, California has always been more expensive because of the earthquakes, right?
But also the fires now.
Fires, right?
Fires
Fires
now
are
and
um,
these atmospheric rivers that are coming in. I mean,
floods.
to be fair
Yeah.
to the insurance companies, it's hard for them to continue on the models that they used for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have to ask yourselves, why aren't they lobbying for climate change to be a thing, right?
That's
You
a
would
very
think,
good and important question.
yeah, I mean, they should be front and center in the
Yeah,
lobby, and most of them are Republicans. So
of course.
hello,
Business Roundtable.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh, hey, Charlie Koch, get on it.
yeah.
Exactly. LOL. You'll never
LOL,
do
right.
that.
So let's see. We've been meandering through all of our little topics.
Kind of have.
We have not discussed the New Hampshire primary except in passing, mainly because it just is so inconsequential
Hey, Joe
that I
Biden won.
barely paid attention to it.
write-in campaign. Yeah.
Joe Biden
Joe Biden
beat
did well.
Dean Phillips, who is still who's raking in billionaire bucks.
He is a billionaire.
He's
Dean
just a
Phillips.
millionaire. Dean Phillips is just a millionaire.
Oh, just a millionaire. Sorry. Okay.
The gelato king, is just a millionaire. But you've got this Bill Ackman asshole giving him money. And
I've never seen a more unlikable candidate than Dean Phillips. There's
right?
nothing to like about him.
No.
Like, how
And
did he
yet
ever even win in the
keeps
House?
going.
I know. I don't get it. Like he's just utterly
Is he
unlikable. I can't.
delusional? Like, how
Yes.
can he possibly think? He must be delusional if
Yes.
he thinks he's got a shot in hell against Biden.
He thinks because Biden's old, that he's a viable alternative that nobody's heard of, nobody likes. He lost to Joe Biden in a write-in campaign.
Right. He was on the ballot and Joe Biden wasn't.
Right.
Yeah. So go ahead, Dean, do it. But yeah, I mean, the New Hampshire primary, both Iowa, this is how I feel about both Iowa and New Hampshire. I'm so glad, number one, that they were taken off the Democratic side first in the nation, right?
Yeah.
Because they're both white states. They're both little. They carry few, electoral votes.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you start there?
They're
I
so
don't understand it. And Iowa, it was like I was in Seattle when Iowa caucuses were on, and I was like, I mean, tell me something I don't know. Trump won by a lot. Duh. I mean, after
they don't like
weeks,
Nikki Haley in Iowa.
After weeks of seeing these idiots that they'd interview saying, he's my president, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, Trump won.
Oh, but it was fun seeing DeSantis drop out.
It was fun.
That was fun.
That was fun. And I actually was kind of rooting for Nikki Haley to do well in New Hampshire, just because, and she did. And
she lost by 10 points instead of 30 points.
Exactly. And it triggered the shit out of Trump.
Yes.
Right?
It is fun seeing him triggered.
Oh, it's so much fun. His victory speech was grievance.
It's a victory speech. And it's so like New Hampshire is, well, Nikki Haley took a page out of Barack Obama's book in New Hampshire, right? And everybody thought in 2008 that after he won Iowa, he was going to sweep into New Hampshire, and they had these polls that showed him 10 points over Hillary Clinton and, everything. And it seemed to me at the time like, okay, maybe, but that's a lot of momentum to get in like 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah. And I was on his team, and he lost by 10 points, and it may have been even more, but it was at least 10. And he went out there and gave this hugely inspirational speech that was like, yes, he lost, but he won, right? And I mean, it was like on that, I still have a blog post about it. I went back and that was when I like first gave money to any campaign ever in my life, was after that New Hampshire speech. And that's what Nikki Haley tried to do in New Hampshire. On Tuesday night.
Why shouldn't she, since Trump was doing the same play on her that he did to Barack Obama?
Right.
Questioning her eligibility because she was the daughter of immigrants.
Right. Oh, and all the birthright citizenship and all that bullshit. Yes. Yeah. And everything. But she did a good, I mean, I thought her speech was good in the sense that it was, upbeat, and she basically had won something there. She, didn't lose by a lot. She lost by 10 points or whatever. And she said, she's going on, well, my God, you think that she had won it to hear Trump. I mean, I couldn't believe that speech he gave. It was the poutiest, most, I can't even come up with the words for it.
Okay, he feels he's entitled. He feels that he owns the whole party. He feels that he owns the whole country. And women, especially women of color, get under his skin more than anybody.
Yeah, and especially competence. Competent women.
Did you notice that he put Vivek up there, like to yank her chain? I think that was the only reason he put him up there, was to yank her chain.
Well, that and that he fluffs
Vivek, him. He calls him Vivek. And everything I could do. And then you had Tim Scott, right? Second up to him. And it's like, okay, whatever. I have to say, I'm Nikki Haley. I am pissed off at Tim Scott because she appointed him to the Senate. She elevated his career to what it is today. And everything.
That was why. That's why Trump says I guess you don't like her very much anymore. I guess you hate her, he said. And he said to Trump, rather than fall into
agree.
that, he goes, but I love you.
It's just sick. It's weird.
It was gross.
Yeah. It's and so now he, I mean, I guess he thinks his ambition apparently is, greater than his humanity, and he thinks being vice president is something that's going to happen. And I'm here to tell you that as soon as South Carolina primary is over and Trump wins it, Tim Scott will be a thing of the past.
Think the
Or
engagement
he'll
is over?
just be a prop,
You think
Hmm?
he's just using Tim Scott right now to win in
Yeah,
South Carolina?
yeah.
Well, he'll win anyway in South
No,
Carolina.
I think
but
he
I
will
mean,
too.
like to help
A
him get.
win-win to stomp her in her
Yeah.
own state,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So something like that. I don't know, but it's just gross. It's the
Yeah.
way the whole
Yeah.
thing. And Tim Scott, I
But
thought
the entire
honestly,
audition for second place is gross. It's just
it is gross.
disgusting.
Yeah, no, it truly is. So, and I really thought, Tim Scott had some integrity, even though he was a Republican. I should have known better. I should have known better. And can somebody tell me what it was like? Rudy Giuliani was sitting outside in a car.
In a
Yeah,
car?
what was that?
Yeah, I have no idea what that was.
I do
That
not
was
know.
weird.
I do not know.
Yeah. So
I'll be right
anyway.
back.
Yeah, I that was weird. I saw that photo.
Like, what are you doing out there? Bugging somebody, or I mean, by
Seriously, or
bugging, right?
listening and
Or
or watching
stalking,
porn or something. What are you doing? Like,
like, what are you doing out there? Oh, I don't
he's
know.
just such a creeper. Oh, she's got her
Yes,
Obama flag.
It's my
Yay.
flag from the convention.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
rub it in, rub it in.
I've never been
All
to
the
a
talk
convention.
about him.
Well, I've
So,
never been to a political convention. I've once went to a Beatle convention
that
Oh.
would be fun.
when I was,
Oh.
a teenager. But
Yeah, Donna went to the '08 convention where everybody was like on fire.
in a good
They were
mood.
in 2012 too, but it was less organic than it was in 2012.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2008 was something.
2008 was miraculous.
Yeah,
And I want to go back to those days.
I do too.
Oh, don't we all?
This timeline, is really funny. The other night, I forget what prompted it. Oh, I think it was an article about how the House Democrats are really enjoying the House Democrats on the Oversight Committee are really enjoying giving it to the Republicans in their Biden impeachment.
They're
Yes.
so good.
And
They're
somebody
so
said,
good at it.
when Hunter Biden showed up at the hearing, I could feel everything shift.
Mhm.
And it was like ever since November 6th, 2016, it felt like we were in the wrong timeline. And when Hunter showed up at the House committee meeting, the timeline is shifting back to where it's supposed to be.
Right.
And I love that idea. I love that thought.
I do too. I love that. That's a great thought. And the guys that are in there, women and men that are in
Yes.
there, Democrats.
Oh, they're so good. They're great.
They're
You got
so
Raskin and Crockett, and they're just
Yeah.
amazing.
Raskin is mentoring them.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
he's
And
the
who
ringleader,
better?
and he
Who
is
better?
the ranking Democrat on that committee. But
Yeah.
you've got our new stars. You've got Jared Moskowitz. You've
Oh,
got
Moskowitz is
Jasmine
amazing.
Crockett. You've
Oh,
got
my God.
Dan Goldman.
Yes.
It's really good.
It is really good. And Jasmine
the
Crockett, if
combination.
I ever get to
Love
give her the
her.
biggest hug ever, I'm going to like y'all die. I loved it. It was like, yes, thank you. Speak the truth.
Yes. And it's
Or
like the combination
you
that
had
makes
the
them mad.
flavors in the shitter,
He- The only one who wouldn't do that would be Dan Goldman because he's a little too dignified. But like all of them have such a each of them has such a combination of intellect and wit that is a joy to
And they're
watch
all
them take these
attorneys. They
people
understand the
apart.
law.
They
Right.
understand the
And
law. They
James
know what
Comer
they're
is such
talking
an
about.
idiot that
Oh
they
my
make him
God.
look,
They
they
don't
make
stand
him
a
look like it.
chance. Nobody on that committee stands a chance against these
Right.
Democrats.
Nope.
It's such a pleasure to watch. And I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's a difference between if your skill set is the law and legislation and politics, or if your skill set is getting hits on Fox.
Yeah. And they're not even being very good at that. The Republicans are not even doing a great job at that because I think part of what the Democrats on that committee are doing is everything they can to keep them from getting hits on Fox, like to keep them from having any kind of positive moment or, getting any kind of, the ability to say any, they're flustering the Republicans on that committee so well that like they're not getting their hits in.
They're just making shit up. They've got these trumped up investigations that are based on nothing. And so the Democrats are doing a good job of illustrating that. And that's why they can't get any traction because there's no there.
Yeah, and they're not letting them interrupt them. They're not giving up their time for them. They're not, they're not playing the game.
It's great to see. We just need more of that, and we need it in the Senate too. I mean, we need Democrats in the Senate that will fight back instead of I know the Senate's different. I know it's deliberative. I know it's that they debate everything, blah, 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 blah. But when you got to get shit done, you got to get shit done. And that means, you use every weapon in the book. Don't fuck around with it.
You channel your inner Mitch McConnell.
Exactly. And do it. And Chuck Schumer needs to be the lead. He can do it. I've seen him do it.
I know he can do it
often enough.
Yeah. I mean, he likes being a mensch, but the time for being a mensch is over.
We're done with that now.
Yeah.
We need action. We need actual results now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people are really sick of all the bullshit.
Yeah.
In the House, in the Senate. Like they want stuff done. Right. And for immigration reform is a perfect example of that. There is a supermajority in this country that wants immigration reform done. A supermajority, 75%. And they're stuck.
And so forgive my asking this, but what is keeping it from happening in the House right now? Is it
Republicans?
They just won't bring it to the floor for a vote now because Trump has declared he doesn't want it.
They don't have it. The Senate is the one that negotiated the thing that they were going to send that to the House, and then Trump stomped on it.
The House just said it was dead on arrival.
Yeah, well, I don't think the House said it was dead on arrival. I think that the Senate won't even bring it to a vote now.
Okay. That was my question: is where is the literal holdup?
It was imminent for the last several days or a couple of weeks. It's been imminent.
60 senators to sign on to it, and then Trump stomped on it.
Yeah,
and they're all so scared of him. They're such wimps. It's like,
so it's stuck in the Senate right now. Yeah,
and it's not. And that's not just.
But Johnson also sent a letter
too.
Johnson sent a letter to say that they would not vote on anything.
Right.
But but they can't, and we don't have enough of a majority to bring it to the floor for a vote.
No, it's got to pass through the committee first, right?
Oh, it hasn't. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking, like, where is it in the process? Is it still in committee? Is that the deal?
It's my understanding is that it's been.
I know I'm getting granular. I'm just curious.
No, it was being drafted. I mean, that was my understanding. agreed to a
Yeah.
framework.
It's
It
not
was being
final.
drafted, and then it was like, well, it's dead in the water now, so don't
Yeah.
bother. So we
Okay.
still have this issue about Ukraine aid, and
Yeah.
that was supposed to be tied into it, and yes, aid to Israel as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
We've got about 10 minutes left. And I know that we always leave the discussion about what's happening with foreign affairs in Israel to the end, mainly because it makes
Because
me
none of us
uncomfortable.
wants to talk about it.
None of us wants to talk about it.
it's
It's
so divisive. That's why.
horrible.
I mean, we
It's
don't have to talk about it, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that at least it's worth, speaking about the fact that there's been attempts to get Hamas to release the rest of the hostages, which is the the end goal for Biden. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's for Biden. He wants the hostages out before he takes whatever the next step is going to be. I don't know what that next step is for us. On the other hand, Hamas is like not going to release the hostages, apparently.
No, that's their leverage.
That's right. That's their leverage. And um, in the meantime, now Bibi Netanyahu is under real pressure from Israelis to step away and get somebody else in there. And honestly, I think that would be the best way to break the logjam, would
It
be to
would
get.
be. It would be because he is the one. I mean, he and his faction, they've made it clear for decades that they did not want a two-state
A
solution.
two-state solution. Yeah.
Right.
And he is conducting this war as a personal vendetta. I don't believe that the country of Israel wants to commit genocide, but I do believe Bibi does.
Yeah. I don't think Israelis want that either.
They don't.
And I think he also is being squeezed because, he formed this coalition with the far right,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that actually are, wanting to squeeze out everybody and take over
Right.
Gaza.
Right.
And
I mean,
that's
I go back to thinking about this New Yorker article that I shared with the two of you several weeks ago. And it
yeah.
was an interview with a longtime settler. And what she had to say about her perceived right to the land there and the relationship with her Arab neighbors was disgusting.
Mhm.
We all agreed it was
Truly.
just horrifying
Truly
Truly was.
disgusting.
Yeah,
to
no
read.
question.
The
To
settler
read,
violence,
yeah,
and the settler movement
yeah.
is just
It's a,
a black mark
mhm,
on the state of Israel. And at the same time, Hamas needs to be eradicated. And
Exactly.
these are two things that can exist at the same time.
Mhm.
And they aren't going to be solved at the same time.
no,
And October 7th is not retribution for the or resistance to or legitimate resistance to the settler movement.
Right.
So to tie them together is a little bit of kind of pretzel logic or pretzel, politics kind of. It's
but that's the Middle
it's
East.
not like we can't, if we fix the settler movement, we'll get the hostages back. That's
No.
not, those are things that just
No,
have to happen in
yeah,
tandem. They have to, they're parallel paths, they're parallel goals.
right.
But it's, Bibi has to go. That's another parallel goal.
Yeah.
It would be great if he stepped aside. I doubt he will,
No,
because
he
then he's
won't.
going to jail.
Right.
It's so awful. But I mean, the from what little I understand about the deals that have allegedly been put forth is that they would, at least from the Hamas side, is that they would return the hostages, but they would also remain in power
Right.
in Gaza.
Right.
And
They want a permanent ceasefire
in
during
what,
which they can plan more October 7th.
exactly, in what universe?
Yeah, that doesn't,
In
you
what
can't
universe
give them
is that an acceptable offer?
Right. Right.
When
It's
the
not.
Israelis, from my limited knowledge, the Israelis have offered return all the hostages and get the hell out, and we won't prosecute you if you don't set foot in Gaza again. And they reject that.
Right.
So it's, I don't know. I can't stop thinking about the hostages, and just personally, I'm not saying like people should frame their thinking this way. I'm just talking about me personally right now. I can't get the hostages out of my mind.
It's not.
I can't get the teenage girls, the girls in their 20s, the babies, who were still there.
Yeah.
I can't get them out of my mind. I'm sorry about my cat.
Don't apologize.
I was laughing at the
I know
tail.
you were laughing at my cat mustache that went by. It's and the men, the young men who were there, and the grandpas. It's like,
I mean, we don't know how many of them are still alive.
right.
I mean, there was an interview this morning with the sister of a 23-year-old woman who was taken from the music festival.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been shot, and she was in need of medical care. And of course, there's no supplies for medical care over there, even if they were trying to give her medical care.
Right.
And hostages that had been released said that she was not doing well. And her sister was just the agony of thinking about what her younger sister was going through and wondering if she was pregnant from being raped so many times and shot and living in terrible conditions, underground.
And
It's
meanwhile,
horrifying.
students go back to Harvard and see anti-Semitic graffiti all over the posters of the hostages.
Yeah.
There's a picture of baby Kafir, and what's written on his poster says, "His head is still on." It is, the anti-Semitism and the gaslighting that has accompanied all of this is monstrous.
Yeah, I agree.
Even with members of our own family who are also Jewish.
Yeah, it's coming from all sides. So next time let's start talking about Israel first, because we should talk about, if we're going to put it on our agenda. Just because, I hate to end like this, but we did have the ruling from the
Trump's 83.3 million again.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I did want to talk about the Hague, though, and the Court of Criminal Justice. At least not declaring that that Israel,
right,
was committing.
Short of calling it.
They stopped short of calling for a ceasefire, and they stopped short of saying that Israel was committing genocide. Yeah. I'm calling that a win.
Yeah. Basically, they were saying what Joe Biden has been saying, and that is to conduct this war according to the rules of war.
Yeah, right. And they did acknowledge the hostages. They did talk about, the return of the hostages as being something that must happen. So, but now let's talk about Trump's 83 million.
83.3 million.
83 million. And he's going to have to put it up as a bond if he wants to appeal.
That's right.
He's going to have to plunk it down and then appeal. So,
Ooh, even better. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So stuck in the 83 million or the 83.3 million out of his account. Boom. It goes.
Can I recommend a show that we haven't talked about TV shows in a while, but we
make it fast.
We blew through this in 2 nights. Colin from Accounts on Amazon.
I love that show.
So
I
funny.
love that show. It's on Paramount
great.
Plus. It's Australian.
Paramount.
It's hysterical.
I thought it was also on Amazon, but I may be wrong.
It might be on Amazon too, but
Okay.
anyway.
Colin
worth
from
it.
Accounts.
Colin from Accounts.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody
funny.
watch
Funny.
it.
It'll make you happy. And on that note,
It'll make everybody
that's
happy.
the show for this week. Join us next time at MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com on YouTube or your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.